Hello everybody, welcome to my review of the Pendulum Premium case from Zenin. So here's the case they've done for the Pendulums now. If you remember, a few months ago they did one for the original brick cases, or for the original brick devices or whatever. Well, not the original brick devices, just brick devices in general. So they'd come back again for one that's based off the Pendulums. So super exciting overall. Here's their box. It's still very basic overall. I get packaging design can be expensive, but I wish there was a little bit of color in this. Besides just cardboard box brown. That's really not centered. I just realized that. But overall, does a little simple job. Has a little weird sticker here. I don't know what that sticker's for, to be honest. I didn't bother looking into it. Overall, it does come packaged very nicely, though, when you first get it. Has these two foam pieces in it. And, of course, has their little card that says, "Thank you for believing in us." Now, this time around, I bought two of them, which... When I first did, like, the original brick one, I only bought one of the brick ones, but I was so impressed with the brick when I first got it that I actually went and got another set of bricks, and I bought the Pendulum ones when they announced them immediately. So, compared to the brick ones, there's a bit more disappointment when it comes to these guys here, because they have quite a few issues overall. But first, let's talk about the aesthetic of them. They are very nice. They do seem a little bit bulky, but overall... it works pretty well. They do protect the screen very nicely. You still are able to hit the buttons very well, which if we compare with the 20th model here, you just slide in the keychain. Just nice in there. Clicks into place. Well, I don't know if it's supposed to click into place, but that's what it kind of does. That's like one of the weird aspects of these cases that I'm still not a fan of, but overall hasn't shown any damage to my devices. And you just clip into place here. So... in my class, and you're allowed to easily hit the buttons and stuff like that, nothing gets in the way compared to the older ones. And overall, if it's the Pendulums with hitting the buttons pretty decently. But in my case or whatever, I've had this little clasping thing right here come undone a bunch of times. This one does come out way easier than the original case, which is nice because the original one was really hard to pop open. But this time around, this one kind of easily pops open, so it's kind of weird with how that one's designed. Now, over my personal experience of testing out this device, it works the best with the 20th and Z devices. And for those who don't know, the 20th model and the Z model share the same molding, so it's very interesting that, or I mean, it's not very interesting, but those ones kind of work the best. You just kind of take this back out. Overall, the 20th and the Z models work the best with this case. They are not too tightly in there. You're able to easily hit the buttons, and it's not like it can actually properly close and stuff like that. Now, the issues with this starts coming along when you start moving on towards the other type of bricks. So, let's talk about the original brick, for example. So, here's an original device, and for those who are curious to know how it's an original, here's the battery door. It's different. It also says 1998 right there. So here's an original device. Overall, it's okay. Cool device. Has a bit different of a keychain design and stuff like that. Overall, if you open up the case, you should be able to easily fit it in there. So the first issue I always have with this is that I actually have issues getting the keychain in, or kind of in through it. It actually sort of like gets stuck on it slightly. You can just force it in and out, but still, that's not like the greatest design, because that means I have to just constantly do that a lot of the time. But once you get in there, it has a nice fit loosely in there. Then the next issue happens when you actually try closing it. If you noticed, it doesn't actually close fully properly. I can force it in there, but at some point that might break either device or the case itself. So yeah, the issue comes with this right here. So the little piece right here is actually taller than it is on the color and the original 20th device. And of course, I guess they didn't take that into like an accountability or whatever. So this doesn't actually fit the originals that well. You can get it to protect the device still. So for example, if you like put a rubber band over it or something, you could easily sit there and be like, hey, like if you took, I don't know why I have a broken rubber band over here. I thought I grabbed a better one, but I guess I did not. So I guess you could do that with it. Overall, it doesn't really work for the original device in a way because of that whole issue. So it doesn't close properly at all, which is kind of sad. You could probably try getting to force it to close, but I feel like that would probably break this little bit right here. Or it would do damage to the case itself, which It's kind of sad. You can fix the issue easily if you took like a drill to it, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to keep the device separate. But yeah, so you can see a little different there. I think the easy way, if Zenin does watch this video and they're curious about how to fix this, I would try making that a little bit deeper, or just try putting a hole in there instead. Because I feel like that would be just okay in terms of design. I know you want to put your fancy label right here, y'all, but if you want more functionality from it, just drill that out. Just make that a like empty hole right there, and you'll be fine. And it would be able to fit the wonderful devices in there perfectly fine. But yeah, so this one doesn't even work properly with... Oh, wait, not that one. This one right here. Sorry, grabbed the wrong case, or grabbed the wrong pendulum. This one right here doesn't work properly inside this device at all. So, because of the issues with that, I could not recommend it for the original pendulums, because one, doesn't fit in here, and if you do try forcing it closed, you could accidentally break your pendulum, which isn't a great design standard. Now, the worst one, in my personal opinion, is when you actually get to the color devices here. So, not a big fan of the colors, but I still gave them a shot and actually messed around with them a bit when doing the testing for this device. So, when you try putting in the colors, the keychain fits in all nicely, everything. It's okay. And then you get to actually trying to put the device in there. It is super tight. Like, this is not a good fit. Like all the other ones, the thing like has a bit of space and is very loose or whatever. But when you get to the color devices, it just doesn't work that well. Like, you really have to force it in there. And it might scratch up the device. And heck, it might even break the case over time. So it's one of those things where it just doesn't fit properly. And you still have that same issue where it doesn't really close that well. You can get it to close, but I feel like you're going to break this pen anyway still. So you can get it to close, though. So I guess that is like the slight advantage that this one has over something like at least over this one right here, over the original model. Sorry, they're both blue, so I'm getting confused. But yeah, you have a bit more of an advantage than the original model, which doesn't even fit in this thing properly because of this bit being too long. In the case of the color, it fits in the case, but if you're trying to take it in and out of the case, then you're going to have that problem where you have to push it through. And I feel like over time it might scratch the actual device itself. And even, heck, might even break this thing here. Because if you repeat the process with me, it just does not really fit in there that nicely. Because, like, you have to force it in there. And it holds it very tightly, very snugly. And then you have to force that part down and everything. I don't know. There's a lot of these parts to it that just don't make me feel comfortable with using a color device in it. Just because I feel like it might just harm the device itself and just break the case in general. Like, I don't think this was very much designed for the colors. And the idea that I have to still push it out, like, at least there's a little hole down here for the USB charging or whatever. But this, I would not recommend it for the colors, because I have a feeling that it would just damage the device over time. Or, heck, even damage this thing, where you can see that it probably was not that well inserted in or whatever. Which is kind of sad in a way, because if you compare it to the original case, which, let me bend down here real quickly, gotta grab it out. The original case did not really have the issues of, it was still bulky as all heck, and yeah, it still has the issue of trying to unclip this thing is not that easy. But overall, the original brick one works very nicely for the devices. Because if you take the biggest one out of the bunch, the X or the 20th, you plop it on in. Gotta tilt it slightly. And just bam. Not that, like, it's still loose in there, but it still has that nice feeling to it. You're not going to just damage it by accident or anything like that. This is a new one, so I do have one used, but it's not near me currently. But as you see, it's not going to accidentally harm the device itself because it's still sort of loose enough in there to where it slides easily in and out. Besides the whole weird corner case thing that I'm still not a big fan of. But overall, this one works really well for what it does. The little attachment there actually closes properly with each one of them. This is the biggest one, by example. The original brick. The other ones actually get thinner and actually still fit in very nicely into the shell. The only one that actually kind of had issues with the original was the oldest one, which was super thin. But you can easily fix that by putting a piece of fabric behind it and just have it just nicely stick in there. The issue with these ones is that it doesn't fit two of the types in there. And for those curious about something like the Pendulum Progress, which I know someone's going to ask me about this, so I'll show you what happens if you try slapping a Pendulum Progress on here. It does not fit the Pendulum Progress at all. It gets stuck on this little border thing. For those of you who are curious about that, it does not work for the Pendulum Progress. People are going to question me why I said that, and they know that people out there will ask me. I know people out there will ask me that question, though. So yes, it doesn't support, at least I'm going to say, the main three of this whole device. So I keep grabbing the wrong blue one. It's my fault there. But if you compare it to the original three here, which, sorry, I just realized there was something on there. But if you compare it to the original three, overall, in my personal testing, you could say 4 if you include the Z in here. But the Z, like I said, uses the same molding as the 20th here. Overall, in terms of design, the color's way too tight in there, and I feel like it might harm the device if you keep pulling it in and out. So I would not recommend it for the color. Heck, it might even break the actual case itself, because there's a lot more struggle getting the color in here. And I would not recommend it for the original, because it doesn't shut properly, because this little bit here is too long for it. Now, you could sit there and argue that you could modify it, but I'm not going to sit down and destroy the Pendulum. And you could sit there and easily modify the case, but I feel like you shouldn't have to mod the case. Though, if you want to make it work for the original Pendulums, just drill a hole into where you see the little divot point here. I see with my light, you can actually see where the little divot point is. But overall, I think the design could be overall fixed in a way, either by just extending it a little bit upwards, or like I said before, just making this little divot area a bit deeper in there. Or just drilling it out. You can just have a hole there. It would be perfectly fine with me. There's already holes at the bottom. There's already the hole on the side right here. There's even the other hole right there. So you could easily just sit there and be okay with adding another hole and just sanding it down properly and stuff like that to get it all working nicely. Which is what I'll probably be doing with this case, for example. Because they are nice for at least the first 2 models, because they could easily fit in there. But the idea that you have to sit there and modify it to even work with the original model is already kind of sad in a way. And like I said, I will not recommend it for the color model at all. If you are wondering what the best used case for this whole the Premium Case 4 is, though, I recommend either getting a 20th or one of the Z's. You can easily stick one of these guys perfectly in there. So, for example, let's see if I can pop this open. There, yeah, I can. Okay, sweet. If you take a Z out of the box here, you can easily have this fit nicely in the case. I think, in their testing or whatever, they probably just used this device here as, the common ground, because it works super nicely. It even protects, the nice little artwork and everything from the, for y'all who care about that. Because I know some of the stuff can actually scrape off and stuff like that. So it's very nice to have this all protected, and it works really nicely for the Zs and even the 20th devices, which they both fit in there perfectly. They don't get stuck on their little nubs or anything like that. It closes super nicely in there. There's a bit of like movability or whatever, because like you can easily push the back in, which I don't know if that's a really great design or not. You don't really have the issue with the front, but the back weirdly has like a push-in point, which I'm not a fan of. Yeah, but overall, I would say this worked probably the best for, well, not probably, it is the best for the Zs and 20th, because it just works really nicely in those models. Because you can just easily pop it in and out, and it just works nicely. But overall, in my personal review of this case, if you're needing a case for your Zs and 20th, then I recommend to just go grab these. If you're wanting this case for anything else besides that, I would not recommend it that well. If you're okay with sitting down with a drill and drilling out a hole, then you can easily get it to work with the original cases. I'm comfortable with doing that at some point. I just haven't done it yet. But I know a lot of people who would probably sit there and squirm a little bit with opening this up and just drilling a hole into it. Because then you have to sit there, sand it down, look at it, make it look all nice and stuff like that. But still, like in my personal opinion, I don't think you should be forced to do that anyway. And I would not recommend this at all for the colors. I feel like there's too many issues with the colors for this case. It's too tight of a fit in there, and you do still have all the access and stuff like that to do everything properly. But I still would not really recommend it that much, because the whole fit of this is just not that, like, you have to sit there and push it down in there. And, like, that whole feeling just does not feel good. You don't have that push-in issue anymore, because this device is apparently slightly thicker, but still, I think overall it's a bit too tight for this. And even then, you still have some issues with it trying to close and stuff like that. Which you can force it to close, but, like, it clearly was not designed to have that. Because you see, even, like, if you put, like, a bit of pressure on it, it doesn't want to latch on till you, like, fully put some pressure on it. So, clearly, like, overall, it's just too tight of a fit. And could easily scratch the device, and just could even damage this little top bit here. So, not a fan of just how it's designed in general for it. And then for the bottom port here, you still have easy access to it, if that does matter, if you do want to use this for a color. But overall, I would not recommend using this on a color device at all. It's just too tight of a fit to actually make it work. So overall, with this whole little review here, I would not really recommend these cases. They're cool. They are a little bit bulky, but they only work on one of the 3 devices that you would actually want to, well, you could say 2 of the 4, technically, if you separate Z and 20th, but overall, it does not work that well. Compared to the originals that did fit all the devices in there very nicely, I do think this is very much a bigger step down, in my personal opinion. I will still put a link down below to go if you want to actually go buy these devices, but overall, I cannot just recommend these, really. And I will say one more thing. I do like Zenin. Zenin's really cool. I order a lot of my V-Pets from them. Actually, that's where I get the colors, and even, like, I think I got my original Zs or whatever from Zenin back in the day. But, not that Z, like a different Z, because I once sold them off or whatever. Yeah, I know, weird story. I'm rebuying them all again. But, yeah, so I do really like Zenin. They're a really cool company, really awesome people. They are super nice, but I do think that in this time around, they did kind of miss the shot overall with these premium cases here. If they do actually sit down and ever, like, remodel these cases, I will probably buy them again and review them again, because overall, Like, these are still made of a nice plastic. They do still protect a little bit of stuff. But overall, like, these ones right here, I cannot recommend. So, sorry about that. But I will still recommend Zenin as a company, though, because they are awesome. They do really cool Digimon imports and stuff like that. They are very nice people. They do answer your questions and stuff like that very nicely and very quickly. So, like, I still recommend Zenin. I just don't recommend the cases. Like, I don't want this to be, like, a whole attack video on Zenin. It was just mainly a review for these cases. And if they ever do, like, restock this case right here, these are actually now sold out currently, but if they ever do restock the original case, go check these ones out. These are really awesome, really cool, really amazing. These brick cases are probably one of their better. Like, this is, like, fully, like, this is a case I use on pretty much my brick devices all the time, so it is kind of a shame that the Pendulum ones that they made just didn't fit the mold, didn't fit the billing or whatever. That's pretty much it for this video. Thank y'all for watching, and that's pretty much it for right now. I'm gonna go work on other videos because I'm behind on stuff, but I wanted to make this video because I don't know, have all my opinions down for these cases now. Been actually using them for like the past few days, taking them to work and stuff like that, and they worked really great for my 20th series, so overall, not too bad. And I'm going to pop my 20th back into these guys, because that's not my 20th. But, going to pop my 20th back into this guy, pop it in, and just give him some cool little stuff. Oh yeah, overall, and that's pretty much just it. So, that's pretty much it. Thank y'all for watching. Bye-bye. So, a bit of shaking action, and we'll leave on them doing some training. And yep, that's pretty much it. Thank y'all for watching. Bye.